All right. Well, focus is a very important thing in our lives. Whether it's whether you're in school or you're playing a sport or something like that. And so the lesson that I learned in this is that you should always be at your fullest attention when you're doing something that you could potentially be getting hurt at. So it's just a typical day. It's an early out Friday of December of 2012. We had a basketball game today, and so I was really excited. I got up, had breakfast, and was ready to go into school. I was 15, and so I had my permit, and all I really wanted to do was just drive. So went to school early, and then did some homework, and then throughout the day I just was thinking about the game and how I wanted to just get out of school early, beat traffic, and get home and get ready for the game. So the end of the day came. Got out of school as quick as I could because I didn't want to get stuck in traffic. And I got home, had a snack, and then it was around 2:20 now, and I called my mom to tell her that I was going back in to get ready to get on the bus. I was driving in, and everything that was going through my mind was, you know, the basketball game and how I was going to play, and that I was hoping I made the winning shot tonight or something like that. And then all of a sudden I was on the gravel on the shoulder, and so I went and turned back onto the road, and I overcorrected, and so I kind of lost control of the truck, and then I looked up and there was another truck coming at me, and so I turned back to the right, and I kind of fishtailed around, and then I went into the ditch and flipped on the side, and then there's this brick pillar. It's probably like 6 feet by 4 feet, whatever, and I hit it straight on, and I knocked it over. And I was shocked. I was so scared. I jumped out the passenger window, and I was just checking myself, make sure I was okay. And then there's these two ladies. They're kind of crazy, whatever. They were yelling at me, and they were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then, so we sat on the ground, and they were checking me out, whatever, making sure well, you know, like, making sure I didn't hurt anything, whatever. Well, you know what I meant. And so they called the ambulance, or 911, and the ambulance came out about 15 minutes later, and they rolled me on a stretcher and took all these precautions or whatever and put on like a neck brace, and then they put me in the back of the ambulance, and we headed into town to go back to the hospital. I got there, or on the way there, the guy in the back put in an IV and was taking my blood pressure and everything, and I was kind of freaked out, but because I don't like needles, that was the worst part. And then he told me to call my dad and tell him that I got in an accident, they're taking me to the hospital. And so I called my dad and I told him, and he didn't really care. He was like, "Okay, whatever." And I was like, "Just don't tell Mom." And he's like, "All right, I won't." And so I got to the hospital, and they took me into the room and took some more tests, blood pressure, and then they tested me for drugs and whatnot. And then we went down and took x-rays and checked for bruising and broken bones and stuff, and nothing really happened. And then we went back upstairs, and of course my mom was there waiting for me, and my grandparents and my sisters, and I looked at my dad's face, and he was just kind of like, "Yeah, okay." I looked over at my mom, and she was like crying, freaking out, and I'm like, "Whatever," I'm like, "You can just leave." And then she got all mad at me because I didn't tell her, and I was like, "Dad, you didn't tell her, did you?" And he's like, "No, she found out from a friend." I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And so then I laid back in the bed, and I was telling him the whole story, and then I asked the doctor, I said, "Can I still play in the game?" And she's like, "No, I don't think that's going to happen." So that was the worst part, was not getting to play and that my mom found out. But so that was kind of the end of the hospital, and then I went home, and the doctor told me to rest, and my mom was still kind of freaked out, so her and my sisters had a couple bottles of wine and whatnot. I don't know. And so I guess the valuable lesson that I learned here was always be at your fullest attention, and don't always tell your mom certain things and whatever. Thank you.